Hello everybody and welcome back to Mighty Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler. This week a little bit with my voice back at least. I was a little under the weather last week while recording. But this week I'm back and ready to go. And this deck is sweet. I got this list from a friend of mine actually at a local store. Shout out to Matt for shipping me the list here. I'm not sure if it's been making the rounds at all or not. But what it is awesome. It's a budget brew. $50 as a matter of fact. Under $50. On TCGplayer right now, you can go and purchase this deck, and it is surprisingly effective. I got crushed by it at FNM the other night, so I want to show it off here. What we are playing, yes, 36 one-mana cards in this deck. That's right. It is basically all the 2-power 1-drops in black that you can get. Bloodsoaked Champion, Bump of the Night, because hey, that's 3 damage, not 2. Diregraph Ghoul, Dread Wanderer, Gravecrawlers, Mardu Shadow Spears, old Dash, lose 1 life, 1/1s for 1, right? Night Market Lookout, same sort of thing in theory. Supernatural Stamina to pump the team here. This card's actually love this card. This card broke through a little bit in Standard, but it's really good. It not only is it sort of a pump spell when you want to either trade up or kill something, but it trades with, a lot of times on turn 2 or 3, this will trade with a Tarmogoyf. You'll run a Gravecrawler or something into it, and you'll give it +2/+0, kill the Tarmogoyf, and your Gravecrawler will come back. Pretty good. Also, has some synergy with this next card, Tormented Hero, which is a 2/1 for 1 and is battlefield tapped. When you cast a spell that targets it, you drain the opponent for 1. Pretty good right there. Another 2-power 1-drop. And Vampire Lacerator, sort of the original, to the modern era cards at least. 2/2 for 1 in black here. If your opponent has 10 or less life, you don't lose life, otherwise you do. But you know what? Our life not so relevant here. And then we have Smuggler's Copters, because hey, this card is pretty cheap and it works. This card is very, very good at not only being evasive and getting through and finishing off your opponents, but also setting up your draws and getting through the extra lands you have. Bone Pickers, now this is a really nice one from Mom Cat that fits in here because your creatures are going to die. Your opponents are going to have to kill them when you attack. And that means you can get some 3/2 flying Death Touch birds in there for cheap. I'm running 3 here because I wanted to make some extra room for these Supernatural Staminas, but you could maybe run 4. You could also run anywhere between 16 to 18 lands, I think. So on to the sideboard here. Again, we're all in on the budget. So we've got Tormod's Crypt for the graveyard decks. We've got Virulent Swipes when your opponent's got a bunch of creatures and you just need to sort of punch through damage, or they don't have any interaction at all, and it'll actually represent 4 damage for 1 mana because of rebound. Now here's what I love. We have one Duress in here for sure. We have some tech right here. Evil Presence for Tron. It's like Spreading Seas, only it doesn't draw you a card. But you know what? It does turn their land into a swamp, and that means it's no longer a Tron land. This gives you the turn you need. It's great. And this, I guess, is the anti-burn tech. Gonti's Machinations? I don't know. So 1 mana, forgotten about card from Aether Revolt. Whenever you lose life for the first time each turn, you get an energy. Okay, sure. Pay 2 energy, sacrifice. Each opponent loses 3 life. You gain life equal to life lost this way. So, against creature decks or, burn or something like that, not only does it represent some life gain on your part, but it also is 3 life loss for 1 mana. Now, it's not perfect. It's not great. It's obviously a bad top deck. All of those sort of things are true. However, it's a fun little tech, and after all, we are playing a $48, I looked it up on TCGplayer, a $48 TCG median price budget brew here. So you know what? This deck is surprisingly competitive. It's going to be fun. So let's get to it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mighty Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler, and this is the perfect opening hand, and we won the all-important dice roll with this deck. That's right, everybody. We are playing a $50 budget black Beatdown brew right here. All the 2-power 1-drops you can handle. As a matter of fact, we have something like 36 1-drops in our deck. It's awesome. We have 2 lands right here. We have some Beatdown machines ready to go. We're going to put a lot of creatures into play and make our opponent deal with them. That's the plan. This deck is cheap. It is a budget brew. Shout out to my friend Matt at home for shipping me this list. Let's see here. I guess we want to start with these. I guess we'll start with the Vampire Lacerators here. So the great thing about this deck, it's not just a bunch of 2-power 1-drops and it's really aggressive, right? What we have are a bunch of recursive cards between Dread Wanderer, which can come back, between Bloodsoaked Champion, which can come back with Raid, between Gravecrawler and actually enough, it's several zombies at least. This deck really has a lot of staying power to keep flooding the field through removal. It's very surprisingly effective, I think a lot of people would find. Okay, so let's go ahead and just run out a couple of these 2-power guys, because that's what we do here. I assume this means our opponent's on Infect, but that doesn't look like a great draw from them. I guess I probably shouldn't have played the Lacerator first. We lose a life for it. But again, our life total probably not the most relevant here, especially if our opponent's playing Infect, which they seem to be. Now, we might just die pretty fast here, but if they're just firing up the Ink Moth and coming in at us, I feel pretty good about that. Oh, the dream right there. Look at this. Turn 3, our entire hand on the table. Are we playing Affinity? Oh, man. Oh, this is awesome. All right. Attack for 6, put our opponent to 12. That is conveniently how much power we have in play. We are on track for a turn 4 kill here with our $50 budget brew. If our opponent can't find some way to deal with our board. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Just play 6 1-drops at the first 3 turns. Are you kidding me? Oh, that's great. And I don't know if our opponent was missing a creature. It has all the pump spells, but I don't think that they're going to be killing us on their turn 3. So I could be wrong. It could be wrong, but I think we're going to be good here. They're deep in the tank, which means there's probably no way. I mean, they can think about blocking and stuff like that, but that's not My opponent just said LOL in chat. Epic deck. Yeah, I agree. They scooped. All right. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. Oh, it was great. Okay, I have no idea if we're going to be able to win a sideboarded match basically ever with our deck, but we'll see here. I think we have to win the dice roll. All right, I guess we don't want these bone pickers. They won't be doing much blocking. I guess this is it, right? We don't need the crypts or the machinations. I don't think I want to mess around turning their lands into swamps, so we'll just roll with this. Soon my opponent's going to realize that that hand, while good from us, is not necessarily all that out of the ordinary. Alright, well now we have to choose whether to keep a 1-lander or not. We're on the draw, so I think I'm going to keep it. 17 lands is obviously a risk, and 2 lands in your opener is perfect, but you're almost certainly going to have to keep 1-landers to make it work sometimes. Our opponent looks like they have a much better draw this time around, but you know what? There's our next land. We're just in a race here. The good news is Smuggler's Copter, depending on what our opponent's Infect creature is, might actually be good. Unless they throw down a Blighted Agent like that. We might just die. Alright, perfect. The Copters, I think, are actually not great in the matchup. They're great against Ink Moth Nexus Plan, and I think, having 1's fine, but we're not going to have a lot of time. It's just a pure race here. So we have 12 damage next turn, though, so if our opponent were to put themselves down 4 life somehow this turn, we'd actually have them. Alright, well, we have 6 power in play and 6 damage in our hands. And we've taken 0 Infect so far, but it is an Infect opponent. They have the Misty Rainforest now. They have the Hierarch. We're going to take a lot. I don't think we're going to... I think we're going to die on turn 4 this time around, but we'll see. That's what our deck can do. We can put a clock on people and say, we'll kill you on turn 4 almost every game. You better be able to do the same. My opponent is thinking about it, though. They're probably thinking about how aggressive they want to be fetching. I imagine that's exactly what they're thinking about. It's too bad. We have blockers forever for... well, actually, I say that. A lot of our creatures can't block like these two, but we have lots of blockers for Glistener Elf. Blighted Agent is the one we can't deal with very well. It's also possible you could put Dismembers into the sideboard. They're obviously not very expensive either, but this is an ultra budget deck, so the only thing we kind of splurged on are like the Grave Crawlers and the Smuggler's Copters. Is our opponent just going to kill us? Mutagenic Growth? Died on turn 3? Infect? Yeah? Alright. I guess we can't be mad. Okay, well, fair enough. Well then, alright, onto the sideboard. Back to the sideboard anyways. Silly Infect. Killing people on turn 3. It's just Blighted Agent. Blighted Agent, people complain about Infect a lot. I don't love playing against it, but I think Blighted Agent's the worst, the most offending card. Ooh, that's a mulligan. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Our mana base might be coming back to bite us right here. Oh, no. I guess we have to keep it. Our opponent mulliganed as well. This is ugly. Nothing but 1-drops in our deck. Oh no. Yeah, Blighted Agent is just one of those cards that's very difficult to interact with. Obviously being unblockable is the point of the card, but also very stupid. Oh no, the worst part too is this is going to come into play tapped and not be able to crew. I think we're going to lose this one. Not hitting... I could keep 1 landers very easily in the deck, but not hitting a land in either of our first 2 hands is pretty rough. Then again... Alright, then again, our opponent is attacking us with a Noble Hierarch, so that's not a bad thing for us. Alright, let's fire up this Copter. Well, this is very, very slow for our deck. Obviously, we killed him on turn 4 in game 1, but if that's all our opponent's doing, it's not the end of the world for us. Ooh, look at that. Raid, everybody. I'm actually going to discard the Copter, though, so I can play 2 things this turn. If this didn't come into play tapped, it would actually be a little different. We could put this. We could play the Copter this turn, put this in the graveyard. Next turn, crew the Copter with this. And all right, well there we go. We did it. We emptied our hand on turn 3. A little easier this time around since we mulliganed to 5, but I have no idea what our opponent's up to. But I would assume that land isn't what they're looking for there. They did mulligan. Maybe they have a hand with a bunch of pump spells, but no infect creatures. Certainly possible. Now this Copter should be pretty good for us because we can actually, you know, control our draws a little bit, and whether that's just pitching extra lands or finding a supernatural stamina or a virulent thing to pump this and drain them for a little bit of life. Wow, our opponent's just going in on this Hierarch, huh? What does that mean? Okay. Sure. Down to 16. Maybe this Vampire Lacerator is going to come back to haunt us here. Dread Wanderer also enters the battlefield tapped, huh? But you know what? This works out pretty well because we can pitch it. It's a free pitch to Smuggler's Copter. And then we can return it to the from the graveyard to play. I guess they're more or less the same thing here, but we'll pitch this. They both come into play tapped, so this one costs the most mana, so we'll just go ahead and do this. All right, well, our opponent's down to 9, and we have more than 9 power in play, so unless they're going to deal 15 to us with this Noble Hierarch, which, to be fair, they could. I mean, there could be some... You know, when you start talking between the +4/+4 spells plus stupid Become Immense, we could get hit for 15. I guess I could have left back a blocker, maybe? That doesn't seem great. I mean, we also could have just hit a 2-power 1-drop that could block. All right, well, if our opponent does us 15 with a Noble Hierarch on turn 4, more power to him, I think. So we're going to find out. All right, here it comes. Okay, we're up to 5. Become Immense puts it to oh no, Become Immense puts it to 11, and another +4/+4 Groundswell would put it to 15. Oh, what a disaster that would be. Okay, Mutagenic Growth puts it to 7. I think that means we're safe. They can only get to 13 unless they have their last 2 cards are Become Immense and Mutagenic Growth, then we're dead. There's the Become Immense. It's 13. We're 2. We're alive. Are we going to get there? Are we going to do it? I think we might have done it. We mulliganed to 5. We had no lands in our first 2 hands. We go down to 1. Oh, no, but this is actually good. We're good. We're good. We're good with the Vampire Lacerator. Don't worry, everybody. All right, let's go ahead and dash this thing in. crew this bad boy. I have no idea why our opponent hasn't scooped, so our opponent says GG's. Oh my gosh, GG's, man. What a game. This deck's awesome. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's great. I love it. There you go, everybody. $50 mono black. Our entire deck costs less than that Noble Hierarch, everyone. And we won. We did it. Oh, that was great. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'm Corbin Hostler. This is Mining Modern. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to some more Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler. Our opponent is on Hallowed Fountain Sleight of Hand, huh? Not sure what that's about. However, our hand is pretty reasonable here. We have the Vampire Lacerator, the Tormented Hero. So we can either go, depending on what happens here, we can go Smuggler's Copter next turn, or if our opponent were to kill our Tormented Hero, we could play Bone Picker plus Lacerator. No idea what our opponent's up to quite yet. Pretty missing rainforest here. We also might get the combo here, right? Oh, interesting. Okay, well, I like that our opponent's dealing so much damage. That's for sure. Oh, wow, we really are going to get a combo here. Look at this. All right, so our opponent's going to block with a Sylvan Caryatid here, obviously, as you'd expect him to. And we actually get to go for the full blowout with Supernatural Stamina. We get to drain them with our Tormented Hero here, and take out their Mana Dork, which I assume is important to them, and follow up with another one-drop of our own to deal some damage. And then next turn, we still have Lacerator plus Copter or Bone Picker, depending on what happens. Our opponent's got to be on some sort of like combo-ish Kiki-Jiki sort of deck thing, maybe? I'm not entirely sure what Stomping Ground plus Hallowed Fountain plus Sleight of Hand plus Sylvan Caryatid and Birds of Paradise is, but I would say this is all right for us. It might be, I mean, it might just be a Bant deck, Bant Nightfall or something, but with Caryatids, I'm not sure. I do know that I like playing out the Lacerator here as well as the Smuggler's Copter. And we even have the Smuggler's Copter to block if that matters. Probably doesn't, but you never know. All right, our opponent's down to 9. We don't have lethal next turn, I don't think, depending on what they do. I mean, I guess if they do nothing, then we have... Oh, I should have played the Wanderer instead of the... Oh, no. I should have played the Dread Wanderer instead of the Lacerator. Bad play, bad play, bad play. I mean, we can discard the Dread Wanderer to the Smuggler's Copter, so in that sense, it's good. On the other hand, we could have used the Summoning Sick Lacerator to crew the Smuggler's Copter next turn and been able to attack with more creatures, which actually would have represented lethal. So we might get bailed out by drawing either a Pump Spell, a Bump of the Night, or a 1-mana creature that comes into play untapped, but... There's obviously, you know, good and bad to both lines there, because pitching Dread Wanderer Smuggler's Copter is sort of the dream. But on the other hand, it did take away, in this particular instance, our ability to present lethal next turn if they don't block. Let's see. Our opponent's Faithful Students. I admit I'm completely in the dark about what they're playing. There are certainly a lot of... It's Bring to Light, I guess, right? It's got to be Bring to Light. Because we see white, blue, red, green. No black, but Sylvan Caryatid and Birds of Paradise both make black. So it's a Bring to Light deck of some kind. Which makes sense. Bring to Light, of course, being the 5-mana sorcery that for each... What the heck? Nagging Thoughts? Look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one in your hand and the other into your graveyard. Sure. Sure thing. All right. Our opponent's doing some sweet stuff, that's for sure. I wonder if it's like Jeskai Ascendancy. There may be no black. It may not be Bring to Light. I think it's probably... I've changed my mind. It's more than likely Jeskai Ascendancy. Because that would make sense. The Caryatids and the Birds both play in that deck. You need all of these colors. You need the Jeskai colors, obviously, for the Jeskai, and you need the green for the Jeskai Ascendancy, and you need the green for the Stomping Ground. And that would make the Nagging Thoughts make sense. And the Glittering Wish actually gives it away, to be fair. Okay, so I know what our opponent's up to, so that's the thing. Let's see if we can find a way to make them throw away their Birds of Paradise here. A lot of draws in our deck that can make that happen. Okay, we know what we're up against. That's good. If they shock themselves, okay, that would have been great too. Come on, deck. Come on, come on, come on. Yes! We did it. I say we did it. What I mean that we did is we found a way to present lethal to our opponent, and when our opponent needs to be able to discard, they have to have mana dorks in play to make their deck work. So the fact that we're presenting lethal here means they have to throw away the Birds of Paradise, which means next turn they have to both play Jeskai Ascendancy and get a Fate Stitcher into their graveyard. Oh, they just play Path. Oh, okay, fair enough. Didn't expect that. Guess it makes sense. Well, okay. Let's hope we don't die. We're back to hoping we don't die then. Our opponent's at 3. Either they win this turn or we win. That or they fog us or something, right? It's good that we know what we're up against. I figured it out. It took me a few minutes. I was so confused by Hallowed Fountain Sleight of Hand because most Hallowed Fountain decks do not play Sleight of Hand, and they certainly don't shock themselves, but it makes sense. And here comes Jeskai Ascendancy. They're going to try. I've played some Jeskai Ascendancy in Modern. The deck is not bad. In fact, they may well get there. They're pretty light on mana. Going off with 1 mana dork is pretty tough. You end up just cycling a bunch, is what happens. Well, Manamorphose, so that's really good. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them get there. The deck is very solid. Unfortunately, it does mean we have to sit here and, you know, Jeopardy theme music here. If we just won the dice roll. Never going to win any dice rolls in this game. I say that. We obviously win plenty, but... Alright, so this was bad for us, though, because that made our opponent mana. Although, if they're flashing back Faithful Saluting with it, that kind of burned some of their extra mana there, and they're back to, you know, back to square one here with just having Birds of Paradise mana. Now, they do get to sculpt their hand a little bit, but... Now, see, this is the problem for us, is they just cycle everything here. The Opt with the Jeskai Ascendancy. Like I said, they can get whatever they want into their graveyard, but they need a way to make extra mana. And unless they're playing Simian Spirit Guide, or Mutagenic Growth, I guess, there's not really any ways in Modern with getting rid of Gitaxian Probe hurt Jeskai Ascendancy so badly. Because with Probe, it just netted you a free mana and drew you a card. It was everything you wanted. Now, I guess we might also die to our opponent just cycling 23 spells and killing us. Yeah, like, just... That actually might happen. Interesting that they're playing bolts and paths, and they're not just all in on combo. Oh, they had a land drop too still? Oh, that's bad for us. Alright, well, it's unfortunate we have to sit here through all of this. Our opponent has 1 card in hand, though. They've done a lot of cycling with their Jeskai Ascendancy, and they don't have it! Alright, we did it! There you go, they fizzled. They were... Man. Alright, onto the sideboard here. Unfortunately, the sideboard is not good for us. We have a Duress. Now, you can definitely just... And maybe it's correct, too. You know, I have the Gonti's Machinations for, like, burn or whatever. Maybe better just load your sideboard up with Duress, to be honest. Or, you know, Inquisitions of Kozileks if you have those. Well, I don't think this is very good. I doubt our... I mean, it's better than... It's better than Supernatural Stamina, I think. Bone Pickers aren't terrible. Get rid of Copter here. I don't think Tormod's Crypts do anything. I don't think messing with their Man with Evil Presence is good, given that they can just, have all the mana doors for all the mana they need. Basically, we just have to hope to present enough of a clock, and we have 2 games to do it here since we were able to take game 1. Would you duress? Look at that. Basically, we just want to present enough of a clock that their fail rate, because their deck obviously has a fail rate. You saw it there to an extent. They had a Jeskai Ascendancy but weren't able to win. And then granted, that was a really difficult situation for them to try to combo off in, but... Oh, Josh, drawing our 5th land? Oh, man, all right. Well, I have some choices here. I think that I have to duress them. It feels so bad to be doing this. Wow, okay, that's a lot of stuff. Sylvan Awakening, huh? I see why they're playing Jeskai Ascendancy. This card is very good in Sylvan Awakening. In Jeskai Ascendancy, Sylvan Awakening is. Until your next turn, all lands you become they become creatures. So what that means is, when you play this card, now your lands are creatures, which means now they all untap with your Jeskai Ascendancy, and you have all the mana you could possibly want. I guess we'll take the Lightning Bolt here. Well, they take like the Sleight of Hand too. I think we just try to have to constrict our opponent on mana, so I'm going to take Sleight of Hand. Actually, I'm going to take Opt. No, this is so hard. I'm going to take Sleight of Hand. I don't think, just based on the fact that we kept a 4-lander, which was a reasonable keep on the draw, but drawing the 5th land in our 17-lane deck, that's pretty rough. We have to hope our opponent whiffs on lands here, which seems unlikely. The problem was obviously I'd want to play Lacerator because we need to beat them down, but if I play Lacerator there and they play Jeskai Ascendancy, the game's essentially over. So, I thought that I just, in that situation, needed to take the chance of getting the Ascendancy out of their hand and then making them find another, which will probably take them more than the one. And we don't even know that the 2 damage presented by that Vampire Lacerator on turn 2 would have made the difference in a turn. So, it may not matter at all. I assume we're behind in this game, given how good our opponent's hand was. But I think that we just have to take the chance of being 1 turn slower to keep them from just winning. If they just resolve Jeskai Ascendancy, we can't win. So they usually have 3 in the deck, and then they play 4 Glittering Wishes, and they have 1 Jeskai Ascendancy in the sideboard. So there's a virtual 7 copies of Jeskai Ascendancy in the deck. They just, sometimes take extra mana to reach. Our opponent just digging through their deck here. It's actually surprising. No one really plays Jeskai Ascendancy. I imagine it's not great against control decks since it doesn't really have a lot of interaction. If you just hold up negates, right, the deck is a lot worse. It's not great against hand disruption. It's got a lot of weaknesses, but in terms of goldfishing, it goldfishes very well, and it can Glittering Wish for counter magic out of its sideboard. It's certainly got some things going for it. Gravecrawler. Well, our opponent gets all these blocks. They never found another land, so at least the Sylvan Awakening in their hand is very bad. Our hand is atrocious, but their Sylvan Awakening is not very good. I also like that they have to do themselves damage. So game 3, if we don't take this one, should at least be a little more aggro for us here. We'll see exactly what they're up to right now. I mean, Sylvan Awakening is great in the deck. It's basically just a 1-of, I think, though. But don't make red mana. Please don't make red mana. Oh, no, green's good. That's fine. That's not a Jeskai Ascendancy they're threatening over there. Or is it? Sylvan Awakening's great in the deck, but not good in this particular hand, that's for sure. Alright, Cerulean Wisps, huh? It's really cool that cards like this exist for this particular archetype. It's one of the cool things about Modern, where there's a lot of, quote-unquote bad cards, from so many different things, but they can come together to work in a particular archetype. It's sort of like the use of Simian Spirit Guide. Not in all the decks where it's just broken, but in ad nauseum, where it feels the exact thing you need in weird ways, and the way all these, combo decks even kind of work together in the first place. And cards like Cerulean Wisp. Target creature becomes blue until end of turn. Untap that creature. Draw a card. Kind of stupid, objectively, right? But very good in this particular deck our opponent's playing. Gitaxian Probe is actually kind of cool in the Jeskai Ascendancy deck too, as opposed to just being broken like it is everywhere, and it's why it's now banned. It's one of the dumber bans in the history of Magic in the sense of, like, it doesn't do anything. It costs you life. It just cycles. It doesn't do anything at all, and yet it's entirely broken. Just proof you cannot cheat. Can't cheat mana cost. Cheating mana cost is the most broken thing in the game. It's the entire reason the Jeskai Ascendancy is even a deck, because it allows you to cheat mana costs of all your spells, making all this extra mana. And they're going to braid our Lacerator here. Our opponent just did us a favor. We actually get to play out this Bone Picker now. We know that they have Lightning Bolts, so Bone Picker is going to, not be long for this world, but we are still spamming out the board with creatures here. We were not, if they took the damage there, we were not going to be able to play 2 creatures, and we are able to play 2 creatures thanks to that Braid. Sooner or later, they're going to find lands, right? Oh, it's a Jeskai Ascendancy. We died. Ascendancy is just so good. I mean, yes, it untaps your creatures, but it also loots every single time you cast a spell. And since all your spells cycle anyways, every one essentially says cycle and then, well, it's loot and then cycle, right? It's draw 1, discard 1, and then draw 1. All right, so our opponent... I mean, there's no way we're going to win. They're discarding lands. All right. One of their cards is a Sylvan Awakening. We're playing black, so we have actual no ways to deal with enchantments. The stupid deck takes so long to win, though. Like, we're probably dead, but I don't necessarily want to scoop in case we're not dead. We're almost certainly dead, though. That's why it's so good, is because once you start going off, it's hard to fizzle because you get to see so many extra cards due to the looting ability on the Jeskai Ascendancy. In addition to just making, a ton of mana. But I can't technically scoop yet. Also, Cerulean Wisp untaps the creature, so it actually makes extra mana on its own. Because this trigger goes on the stack. You tap your creature for mana. Jeskai Ascendancy trigger goes on the stack. Jeskai Ascendancy trigger untaps it. Then you tap it for mana again, and then Cerulean Wisp resolves and untaps it again. So it actually produces mana on its own. Really neat. Draw 2, discard 2. Blue Sylvan Caryatid. And I got rid of their Sylvan Awakening, as you would expect. They have all the mana they could possibly need at this point. However, they are down to 1 card in hand. So maybe if it's just a ridiculously bad Serum Visions and they have nothing but lands in hand. They went 1 top, 1 bottom. So another Serum Visions, okay. They're 2 spells away from killing us here because these Birds of Paradise will be 9/9s. Yep, there's the Nagging Thoughts. I knew it. This is what gave it away for me. It took me a minute to figure out the archetype, but Nagging Thoughts gave it away because it's only good when you're discarding it. Well, I mean, if you can just cast it, it's actually... I mean, it's not good. It's like a bad sleight of hand, but it does have some sweet madness value. Excuse me. Alright, there's the looting. So if they have 1 more spell, assuming they don't have 8 lands in hand or whatever here, 4 lands in hand, we're dead. Is it a spell? Is it a spell? Is it a fake out? Do they have 2 lands in hand? They did pitch 2 lands. It is not. We're dead. Alright, good game. Well, yeah, I still don't think we really have anything to do here, but just try to kill him. As it turned out, it was definitely correct in that game to play Duress first because we were nowhere close to killing them. That 2 damage would have made no difference at all. But Duressing them could have made a difference. The one problem with our deck is, well, I say that. What our deck does well is it puts a clock on people, and it says, you either manage to deal with my board of recursive creatures by turn 4 or you're going to die. And the combo decks, it just puts up a giant, line in the distance that says you win by this point or you're dead. And when you're playing an ultra budget brute like this, it's kind of all you can ask for, right? Is you're going to need some of the other decks to stumble. You just hope that you can punish them. And this deck can do that. And you know what? It actually has a lot of staying power. The matchups can be kind of swingy, obviously, but there's a lot of decks that just have a lot of trouble with this. When you play against, say, even like a Jund or something, right? Yeah, they have lots of great cards, but you have recursive threats, and they deal themselves some damage, and you can just get underneath them. And a lot of these combo decks, if they stumble at all, you really punish them. I don't like keeping this, but we're playing a 17-lane deck. You have to keep 1-landers, but see if our opponent mulligans. I would obviously have much preferred to... if we draw a second land, our hand's insane. They did mulligan. All right, it's a good start. Good start for the good guys here. Now if my deck is feeling really, really generous, it will just throw a land off the top of my deck, and I get to play double Dread Wanderer, and then next turn I get to play Bump of the Night and another 1-drop. Unfortunately, 16 out of 53 is not... It's basically a 30% chance of drawing a land here, which is not great. But hey, you know what? They're worse odds. And to be fair, our opponent mulliganed. We don't know that our hand does nothing. Alright. Unfortunately, we did not hit the land. Well, this makes a big difference because it's a very big difference between having 6 power in play right now and threatening a turn 4 kill and only having 4 power in play and not having to kill turn 5 at the earliest. Let's see. Our opponent had the Mana Dork. And there's a Glittering Wish. I guess the Jeskai Ascendancy, so we're probably dead here. Unless we ripped a rest off the top. That'd be pretty sweet. Yeah, that'll probably do it. Unlucky. See, the thing is, if we'd have our opponent at 9, and if we had a second land, we'd actually be threatening lethal next turn, and it's just a completely different ball game at that point. Don't really think there's any way we win at this point. I guess we have a turn to rip Duress. The one of Duress in our deck. I think you should probably just load up the sideboard of this deck with Duresses. Safe to say. Man. Well, like I said, we had that 30% chance to win. And it's basically all you can ask for there, I think. And it's not even like it's an auto lose otherwise, but... Alright, so this should be it. Our opponent gets to play Jeskai Ascendancy. They have 4 cards in hand after that. They have all the mana they could possibly need. They get all the looting effects. We're not going to win this one unless their hand is... They somehow get very unlucky. And that's not going to happen with Faithless Looting. Pitch a couple lands. Noxious Revival and land. Okay, well, theoretically, those are cards that don't dig them to more cards, so I can see maybe why they'd want to do that. All right, so Jeskai Ascendancy. Or trigger off of the Serum Visions. Yeah, if we had had the second land, and I thought about mulliganing, but the problem is it's so hard to mulligan with a 17-land deck. Because we could very end up with a 1-land hand or a no-land hand there, but if we hit that land, we would have dealt them. We would have had enough damage so that, on our last turn here, our turn 4, we would have attacked with enough power to make them chump block, or it would make things a lot more difficult for them. Probably. The Sylvan Caryatid might have been able to save them anyways, and then they just play Ascendancy and go off in the same turn. Either way, with this deck, you can see how close the games are. Every single game that we seem to lose seems to be by one turn, right? And it can come down to the dice roll, or us not having a land, or very close. So, despite the fact that our opponent has a deck with all these fetch lands and shock lands, heck, Expedition fetch lands cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. We're playing a $48 budget brew here, and we are very, very close, and very tiny percentages away from winning. So, hey, something to take from these matches, even though they aren't wins. Is a Glittering Wish. Let's see if they can do something cool here. They should go get, this is one of my favorites. They get a card called Flesh Blood out of sideboard. It's a split card from Dragon's Maze. But what it does is your creature deals damage equal to its power to a player. Or any target, maybe. I think it might just be a player. Let's see what they get. It's a cool card. You can use it to kill through an Ensnaring Bridge or something. Yeah, Blood. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to any target. So when they have an Ensnaring Bridge out, you can still just 20 them with your creature. Either way, we are dead now. That's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Close games there. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Match Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler. Looks like we're on the draw this time around, and we have to mulligan this one. All right, got to keep this one. I'm just going to go ahead and bottom this because that's basically the same as a million other cards on top of our deck, and I would like a second land here. Our opponent might be on some sort of burn deck over there, which means I should probably go ahead and play this Swift Spear first. Shadow Spear, rather. Swift Spear, as you might guess, has haste, and Shadow Spear does not. Well, you know what? If we draw a land next turn, our hand might develop okay. It really depends on what our opponent's at. I'd say I wouldn't even mind them just killing all of our creatures, and because we have so many recursive ones, but in this case, we don't necessarily have a recursive one. They also might not be on burn. I mean, I assume it's just Boros Burn. That's kind of the most popular variant of burn going around right now. Inspiring Vantages, and the green's just from the sideboard. Basically, 1 or 2 green sources for Destructive Revelries. No Atarkus commands in the main decks anymore. No Wild Nacatls, that sort of stuff. But with just Inspiring Vantage, it's hard to actually tell what our opponent's up to. They're up to it pretty slowly, though. Well, okay, we take this chance to go over our deck in our hand. So this is interesting. It's the only Bump of the Night deck I've played that can't even pretend to flash it back, right? We will never hit 6, but we only play 17 lands. We do not want to hit 6 mana. I guess technically you could against some decks, but we have no red sources, so we actually just can't flash it back. But it is 3 damage for one mana. And considering our deck has a whole bunch of cards that are 2 damage for 1 mana, it makes sense to play it. Supernatural Stamina is kind of my pet card in this deck, but I love it. It's so good when you get to trade your, Mardu Shadow Spear with something. And Shadow Spear, by the way, it's a 1/1 for 1. Looks pretty unimpressive, right? But it actually has some advantages. Now, it's sort of like Vampire Conquistador, that was a 1/2 for 1 that had the same clause where it attacks, each opponent loses a life, which in Standard was pretty decent, right? But what it also means is that in this deck, I think it's better because it has Dash, which means when you really, really need that extra point of damage off the top of your deck, you can dash it, which means you put it into play. It has haste. It's returned your hand at the beginning of the next instant. But it comes into play, and it's important because it makes them lose life as soon as you attack. It doesn't matter if it gets blocked, it's still going to drain them. And with the dash ability, it's sort of like, in a late game top decking situation, it's a card you can draw that will just immediately hit them for 1 that they just can't do anything about once it's in play. I mean, obviously, right? So that's sort of the benefit of this card, even though on its face, it kind of looks unimpressive. And, if it gets blocked, obviously it doesn't trade super well. Our opponent went ahead and bolted our face, huh? Okay, now they have basic planes here. Land? Not a land, but not a bad draw. In fact, a draw I'm quite happy with because I don't want to play this and have to take a bunch of damage. So we'll see if we can just outrace our opponent here. They don't have any creatures, so it's actually possible, I would say. if they have the all burn hand and none of the goblin guides or whatever, then it's reasonable we might be able to outrace them. And we're not going to deal ourselves any damage. We know that. Outside of maybe this Vampire Lacerator. Oh, Lightning Helix is real good at the matchup, though. That's for sure. All right, we're down to 14. They have 5 cards, and if those 5 cards... Ooh, Faithless Looting. Oh, it's a different kind of deck. Okay. Certainly seems like burn, but maybe Faithless Looting to ditch the excess lands. That certainly helps your burn spells do 15 damage to our face. Don't have to worry about flooding out. Alright, they pitched a... Oh, it's red-white Bedlam Reveler? Interesting, okay. Well, our opponent's shocked in a land. And that... Oh, I see. I see now. Alright, there's the land, though. That's pretty good for us. Alright, so let's just go ahead and attack with both of our creatures here. Man, the problem for us is the young Pyromancer tokens are real good against us. It might just be a weird Mardu Pyromancer hand, for what it's worth. Maybe I should have played the Copter there. I'm not sure. I want to get our non-evasive creatures in play as soon as possible while they're actually still possibly relevant. Kind of depends on what our opponent's able to do here. If they Helix another one of our creatures and make a token, we're definitely in trouble. I would think a Mardu Pyromancer deck would have Lightning Bolted our Shadow Spear, though. And the basic Plains is kind of odd. Haven't seen a fetch land yet. Excuse me. So in summation, I basically have no idea what my opponent's doing, except that I know that young Pyromancer is very good against our deck. Supernatural Stamina is pretty nice for us, though, and like I said, a lot of our creatures do come back. The Shadow Spear does not, but the Bloodsoaked Champion does. It's going to take 2 tokens to trade with the Lacerator. Alright, it is Mardu Pyromancer. Are they going to shock themselves down to 10 so I don't have to take damage? Please? Please, please shock yourself down to 10. No! I mean, that's fine, too. It means they're not using that mana this turn. Alright, scariest thing for us from them is going to be Lightning Helix. I mean, they only have 2 cards in hand. And they didn't flashback Faithless Looting, though, so they definitely have something. Alright, that's not a bad draw. We can go Bump of the Night plus Shadow Spear this turn, depending on what happens with this attack step. I don't think this attack step's going to go well for us, but it's just kind of a question of how badly it goes and how much... Boros Charm. Permanents you control are indestructible, huh? Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Our opponent's down to 1 card in hand, though. It's just going to be, are we able to find ways to get through the tokens? Unfortunately, Boros Charm's a nice little piece of tech there. Our opponent, you get the token first and it becomes indestructible and gets the trade. I'm kind of tempted to use Supernatural Stamina on our Shadow Spear just to get in damage. And then play our other Shadow Spear. That puts the most amount of things onto the board. On the other hand, it might just be time to switch to Smuggler's Copter. And then maybe we can dash a Shadow Spear in later. Yeah, okay, I'll give that a shot. Okay, well, we'll see what happens here. Sorry, excuse me, I'm still getting over being sick. Alright, well, we're kind of hoping Copter goes the distance. They play a land here. I assume either they have a good card in their hand. Oh, the best card in their hand. Alright. Yeah, we're going to lean on Copter here. The good news is we're not that far off, to be honest, between the Copter and the Bump in the Night and the Supernatural Stamina. I mean, we have them in 2 turns. Basically, they're dead, not on the turn we're about to take, but our turn after that. So, as if we don't die anyways. And our opponent could also have, I mean, they could also have something good here. All right, Grave Crawler is a nice one to pitch. We don't have a zombie at the moment. All right, so we'll play this. Use the new one to crew the copter. And we'll just attack with the team here. They want to lightning bolt our copter, huh? Well, I think I have to Supernatural Stamina to save it. I don't think we're going to win, though. Don't really see a way in which we pull this one out. Young Pyromancer is the best card by far against us. Unfortunately, the copter comes back and play tap, too. Well, that was about as poorly as that draw step could have gone for us. We do have a couple Night Market Lookouts that are similar to this. I opted for 4 Shadow Spears and 2 Night Market Lookouts because Night Market Lookout drains for 1 when it becomes tap. I basically have valued the dash over the drain. They both do the same amount of damage to the opponent. In similar ways, I mean, Night Market Lookout combos with Copter better, though, so I don't know which one of those is correct. I opted for the dash because I wanted better top decks late when I just needed to force through a little bit of damage. That may or may not be correct. Let's just see how slow our opponent goes, basically, here. I don't know what we're looking for. You know... Well, no, we don't. We don't have it. If we hit 10 points is not that hard with 2 of these. That puts them at a virtual 8. This puts them at a virtual 5. This puts them at a virtual 2. We're Supernatural Stamina away, but then I wouldn't be able to crew this. And the Lingering Souls basically is a nail in the coffin for us. I mean, yeah, quite literally, yeah, we're dead. All right, on to game 2 here. It's just I can try to grind through their removal. What I can't do necessarily is get around the. I'm going to cut a Shadow Spear here. We can try to grind through the removal. We cannot grind through the Young Pyromancer tokens very well. They had double Lightning Helix in that game too, I believe, which was obviously very good for them. Now we're going to play first, though. We get a mulligan. Sure. Mulligans are a way of life with this deck, by the way. You just have to accept that. You're playing 17 lands. The original list I got had 18. It's like 18 lands where our curve tops out at 2. Felt like too many. I think you lose more games having 3 lands than you do to having to mulligan or whatever. So we'll keep this one. Our opponent kept as well. Definitely ship that one to the bottom. Bone Picker should be pretty decent here, though. Our opponent definitely showed in game 1, they didn't see Bone Pickers. They showed that they wanted to kill all of our creatures in combat and not on their turn, which means we may, you know, actually get to get the discount here on Bone Picker. Copter, huh? All right. Well, let's attack first. If they take it, then I'll play Copter. If they don't, if they kill this, which they probably would have done already, then I would play Picker and Lacerator. All right, let's get our Copter out there. All right, this is not bad. Copter is definitely something they have to deal with. And they can only deal with it on our turn, which means it will definitely set up a Bone Picker. All right, our opponent doing nothing. I think that's good for us. Another Copter, huh? All right, let's go ahead and... Well... I actually want to play the Lacerator, I think, to crew this. All right, let's see what we get here. And I guess Night Market Lookouts would work pretty... They do work well with the Copters. All right, perfect. All right, Copter down. That's fine. I'm probably just going to play the other Copter, to be honest. It's sort of the same thing. I mean, it's not entirely the same thing, but... Well, no, I'm just going to play this because... the Bone Picker works well here, and the second Copter... That way we still can keep this third land in our hand to discard. depending on what happens next turn, obviously. You know, if we, it may or may not matter. If we draw something we want to play, we can play the land and the copter. If we draw, you know, something we want to discard, then we don't have to. There's the Pyroclasm, though, huh? I guess I should have played copter. Yeah, decks with Pyroclasm, pretty good against our deck, by the way, as you might have guessed. Yeah, that's the way it goes. Point removal, we can try to fight through. It's also kind of, I mean, I'm going to say unlucky, but unfortunate that we did not have any of our recursive creatures here. You know, this looks a little different. It's a Dread Wanderer and, you know, instead of a Shadow Spear and a Lacerator, it's a Dread Wanderer and a Gravecrawler, because then I just get to replay them both. But Copters, if anything will get us back into this game, it's beating them down with a Copter, but I doubt we're going to be able to do that, and there's the young Pyromancer. Hey, that's perfect. Assuming we don't get bolted here. If we get bolted, we're basically just dead, but... if our opponent doesn't have a bolt, that's what we're hoping here. Alright, we died. Good game. I don't know if people will be upset if I scoop now or not, but the game just ended. If that had worked, it actually would have been pretty good. We could have pitched a Dread Wanderer, drawn whatever we draw, replay the Dread Wanderer from our graveyard, have them at 12, have a Dread Wanderer, Bloodsoaked Champion, Copter in play, and a card in hand with another draw step coming up. It would have been exactly what we wanted, but as it stands here, we're just dead. Mardu Pyromancer, probably not the best matchup for us. Lightning Helixes and Pyroclasms, pretty hard to beat with our deck. Boros Reckoner, huh? Okay. I don't know if that's a thing in Mardu Pyromancer or it's a little piece of tech, but it's pretty decent. To any target, huh? So he gets to shoot our other creatures. Yeah, GG. Yeah, I'm just going to skip. There's nothing we can do here. We're never getting through a Boros Reckoner. We're never dealing them 15 damage. Their entire deck's removal. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching, though. It was it's a $50 deck. We're going to have some... definitely going to have some bad matchups. There you go. But overall, still a lot of fun. If they don't have Pyroclasm there, that game could be a lot different. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mining Modern. Here we go with some more budget mono black beatdown. Now, unfortunately, we lost a dice roll in our deck. It's hard to... I mean, the dice roll was important in all of Modern. I think it's hard to it's hard to overstate how important it is to our deck in particular to win the dice roll, but here we go. I'm going to play at the Dread Wanderer first here because it comes into play tapped. Possible I should have held it to pitch to the Copter. We'll see. Our opponent, I assume, is on Storm, so probably not great for us, but we'll see here. We do get to play 3 creatures. I mean, we get to put 6 power into play on turn 2. Which would look a lot better if we were on the play. We probably just are gold fishing with our opponent, though. I think that is probably true. All right, well, we'll get in there with this Dread Wanderer. Now, next turn, it's actually pretty sweet. We can play Copter and Lacerator. So we have a great hand. On the draw, it's going to be pretty difficult, I think, to beat Storm, because I bet they probably just kill us next turn, but we'll see. Or this turn. Maybe we're just dead on turn 3. It might be a small one just to blow up our board, too. Yeah, that's a lot of mana. That's a lot of Pyretic Rituals. Alright, there's 6 mana. Gifts Ungiven. Main phase Gifts Ungiven with just red, though. I don't think this kills us, unless they have... I mean, they don't have a mana, guys, so... I mean, I assume that they know what they're doing and are casting Gifts Ungiven to kill us, but... They Manamorphose into a mana guy, but then they... Unless they have more rituals... It also seems like maybe they didn't need to do this. Maybe just pass the turn, play 1 ritual on our instep, Gifts Ungiven then and set up the win on your turn. Without a mana dork, it's much harder, though. All that said, I mean, we don't kill them next turn because we lost the dice roll here. Yeah, it's just a value one here. All right, I choose the ones that go into the graveyard, huh? I guess it has to be Pass in Flames and Ritual. Pass in Flames and Manamorphose. I want to deny them mana. Or rather, deny them cards. We can't... Don't think we're interacting with their mana much right here. Although giving them all that mana means they can Pass in Flames easier next turn. I don't really think there's any good options there. Because if we get... Which is the point, right? But if we have a Manamorphose, then they could also use that to turn their 2 red into a mana dork. Alright, it is just a Grape Shot to blow up our board. I guess this is the most beatable of the things for us, but I still don't see how we win. Our opponent just has infinite rituals. They have 2 more rituals in hand next turn to go up to 5 mana. I mean, that's enough to flash it back, but... Alright, well. You know what I can do? I can play Copter and I can play Vampire Lacerator. It tells me it's probably not good enough, though. Our opponent had what seems like a very good hand, but I guess we'll see if it develops. I mean, maybe they're just not going to get the mana they need. I don't know. I don't know what we're hoping for here, to be honest. I actually think it's correct to play Bone Picker here and crew the Copter. Just full retail Bone Picker. Because we have to get in for as much damage as possible right now. And every turn hereafter, but... Alright, draw, pitch a swamp. Alright, we get in for 5. Puts our opponent down to 12. I guess we could have lethal next turn, depending on what we draw. Yeah, we just died, though. Does that mean our opponent had to top deck that? That or they knew they could just play it and go off this turn anyways. Alright, well, fun game, fun game. Yep, they flash back. If we'd been on the play, I think we would have won this one. We actually had some outs to win next turn, though, because this would have got in for 6 damage. This would have been 8, and then we could have hit a 3-mana thing to get there. And this game is well and truly over. They get a gifts again here. For a second Grape Shot, and then just Grape Shot us twice. I guess we'll sit here and see what happens, but... I don't know if they drew that Electromancer off the top or they were just saving it until they could go off, but... A little tilting if they drew it off the top, I suppose. Alright, Grape Shot number 1. I guess I need to make sure they have a second Grape Shot in their deck, right? Make them click through it. If you play Storm, I'm going to make you click through it anyways. With the gifts Ungiven in the yard, though, we're dead, assuming that there's nothing weird happening, but... Oh, they just have a second one. Okay, sure. Alright, on to game 2. Tormod's Crypt, please. And Duress. Those are the cards I would like. They're not really going to be killing our creatures. I mean, they might have Pyroclasms and stuff, but either way, Bone Picker doesn't help there. I think the Virulent Swipe is fine here. Got a couple Shadow Spears. Actually cut a Copter too, because we're just trying to beat them down. This is nothing but a race. We can sometimes, you know, I think with a decent amount of regularity anyways, be able to Goldfish a turn 4 kill with a reasonable hand on our part. Where Storm can always Goldfish a turn 4 kill and sometimes turn 3. So we do need a little bit of interaction with these Tormod Crypts. But what we don't need are to, you know, to try to grind them out with Smuggler's Copters. Our opponent's going deep into their sideboard, I guess, here. All right, there we go. Well, that's a keep. Reasonable hand, to be honest. What we can hope for in the matchup here, we get to play 3 creatures by turn 2 and have a Tormod's Crypt. This is the type of hand that can seal a game. And our opponent mulligan. Yeah, we might at least get to take a game off a Storm here. And look, we even get to steal some life from them with the Night Market Lookout. Of course, if they have 1 Pyroclasm, we're going to lose, but such is life. Or if they just, you know, kill us on turn 3. Gravecrawler, huh? I will most certainly play the Gravecrawler along with this Tormented Hero here. Don't have another zombie yet, but we might, if they were to Pyroclasm, then we could theoretically draw a zombie and get the Gravecrawler back out of our graveyard. Well, this is what we want to do right here. 6 power and play on turn 2. Well, sort of 6 power, right? In some ways, it's better than 6 power because this will do damage if it gets blocked. But in some ways, it's obviously worse. Because, you know, it's a 1-1. Alright, that doesn't look like a Pyroclasm, so that's good for us. And there's the second Gravecrawler. It's pretty nice, too. I guess I didn't need to play that land. Is it worth holding back this Gravecrawler to be able to replay the other Gravecrawler if they do wipe the board? I don't think so. I think we just have to... Well, it's not lethal no matter what, right? Well, considering they have 2 Shivan Reefs, it is. Okay. Basically, if they had a Pyroclasm, they would have played it last turn. If they have Anger of the Gods, it doesn't matter whether we have it anyways. And I want to put the, you know, virtual 10th power in play, given that they're sitting on 2 pain lands. 3 pain lands over there. So they have to kill us this turn through Tormod's Crypt. So that seems unlikely. Certainly not going to rule it out. They could just wipe our board, too. It is a Storm deck. This blocks very well, also. But I will gladly just run my team. We're just going to die. Okay. They mulligan and they still have a turn 3 wipe your board play, I think. We'll see how far they get Storm up here. Oh, Storm is just so terrible to play against. I mean, obviously we're not playing an interactive deck at all here, but I mean, Storm does this to basically every deck in the format. Fortunately, not very good right now because 5-color humans, which is almost oppressively good. It's so good. But 5-color humans destroy Storm. All right, well, our opponent did deal themselves a lot of damage. They are down to 9 here, and they're gifting. I mean, let's see how many board wipes they have, really, because we might be able to take it otherwise. This is an interesting gifts pile they have to make. And even if they block 2 of it, they still take 8. Oh, which is not lethal, though. Okay. But if they have nothing but Shivan Reefs, it would make them unable to go off next turn. So getting in 8 damage is probably good here. It's a big gifts I'm giving. We'll see what they have. It basically comes down to their sideboard, what they were able to bring in right here. Because obviously Grape Shot's one of the options. We have to put Grape Shot into their graveyard because it will just blow up our board. And then they'll be able to win, you know, whenever they want. But they still need other stuff because alright, so... Yeah, I put Grape Shot and Manamorphose into their board and let them have mana. Letting them have mana doesn't feel great, but it all just, I mean, it just depends on what they have, because I don't want to give them a card to dig to it. This is the sort of play, the line they've taken right now is both the line they would make if they had the win and if they didn't. And given that we can only play as if they don't have the win by putting these cards into their graveyard, which either blow up our board or dig them to an answer to blow up our board, that's the line we have to take. And if we die to what's in their hand because we gave them extra mana, well, that was probably just going to happen anyways. So as it turns out, we might have actually got paid off here. And they don't look like they have it. All right, well, we'll attack with a team here. They're going to get a block. And then they're going to take 7 and go to 1. Interesting, they didn't. They could have taken a creature out from our side. I guess that doesn't really matter, though. Well, I mean, it all comes down to basically if they hit an untapped mountain. Basically a mountain. A basic mountain, I think, is the only way they can win. All right, we did it! All right, we took a game off Storm. Because they were 1 life and they had 3 Shivan Reefs in play. Kind of unlucky, I'll give you that. All right, I mean, I think this is what we want. I feel extremely, as if it is very, very unlikely we'll take a game on the draw here. Like I said, our deck, I mean, I'm going to say more than any other in the format or whatever, right? But you cannot overstate how important it is for our deck to win the dice roll. Maybe they'll just mulligan to Oblivion. That's always a plan too, right? Well, this is a keep. I mean, this is what we got to keep. Plays out our hand very quickly. Ah, Shivan Reef. All right, I like it. They're dealing themselves damage. Good start. They did not mulligan, but they are dealing themselves damage, so that is better than nothing. May or may not matter, but hey, that's 1 less point we have to do. Considering our deck does damage in chunks of 2, it may not matter at all. Ooh, Copter. There's something that does damage in chunks of more than 2. I don't think I can play it next turn, though. I think I just have to play out the Lacerator and the Gravecrawler and the Ghoul. Ooh, Virulent Swipe is nice. And they have the basic mountain this time around. They did nothing, though, so I don't know if that means they're sitting on Remand or what. Or Remanding us isn't even good, though. Wow, they just had nothing. Which means we might just be dead next turn. That's the thing, too, with Storm. Yep, dead on turn 3, I think. I thought about playing the Lacerator and saving the Diagraph Ghoul to be able to replay the Gravecrawler, but... It's modern, turn 3 format. I am making the mistake of playing a turn 4 deck in a turn 3 format. Well, Pieces of the Puzzle is pretty good. They reveal Gifts Ungiven, another Pieces of the Puzzle, Remand, and Past in Flames, huh? So basically the dream. And they take the Past in Flames and the pieces... they don't need the other pieces. They take the Past in Flames and the Pieces of the Puzzle, yeah. They just Past in Flames and ran out of red mana, though, so... I don't know if they misclicked there or what, but they actually did open themselves up to get blown out to us top-decking. We did not. We did not top-deck, but... They opened themselves up to top-decking a Tormod script and blowing him out. Well, maybe they go for their quote-unquote free block on the Gravecrawler here, and we actually get to punish them with a Virulent Swipe. That would be pretty sick. Nope, because they just know that we're dead. Okay. Doesn't matter. Oh, it was so close. The dice roll. Because we have lethal next turn. Even if they blocked, we'd have lethal. God, they just had the actual insane hand over there. All the rituals ever. They had that piece of the puzzle was so insane. They hit Gifts Ungiven off of it. I'm certainly not unhappy about us having this board on turn 3 or 4 or whatever it is, but... Yeah, this was our turn 3. Yeah, this is what we wanted. Just needed our opponent to not have everything. Piece of the Puzzle is such a good card in Storm. Very close. They're going for the full rubbins here by taking all these extra cards that they don't need. All they have to do is fire off the Gifts Ungiven for another Past in Flames and Grape Shot. If they had made the block, that's the unfortunate thing too. If they had made that block, because they haven't seen one of these from us yet. If they had made that block on Gravecrawler because it's quote unquote free, and we got to blow them out with Virulent Swipe, we might have actually won the game. Unfortunately, they just knew that they had to win 17 different ways as soon as they untapped and didn't need to mess around with our 2-1s. Fair enough. Alright, well. Manamorphose to make mana. Pass in Flames, they get a Gifts and give it again. They're only playing... it's just over. Alright. Well, good game, everybody. Now they're going to go through their entire graveyard again. Close. If we won the dice roll, maybe. Unfortunately, we were just a turn short in both of those 2 games we lost. But it was still fun. You can definitely see how it's possible to take games off of Storm. They also opened themselves up, by the way, to getting completely blown out by Tormod's Crypt if we'd been sandbagging one or a drawn one. And we were not lucky enough, unfortunately, to do that. But you can definitely see how it's possible to take those games. Either way, everyone, thank you for watching. I'm Corbin Hostler. This is Mighty Mod.